You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. Last week, we had discussed it, and today it is now official. Walker Howard has entered the transfer portal. That's, again, not breaking news. He just said his goodbye formally with a Twitter post or post on social media. And his post really was dripping with emotion. The first line said, "As a kid, I always dreamed of playing at LSU. I never imagined being anywhere else. However, when things happen in life, we have to adjust and keep moving forward." He would go on to announce that he's finally looking for the best spot for him to grow, how thankful he is for his time at LSU, the relationships he's built, thank Coach Kelly and the staff, and all of his teammates and friends. We talked last week about this when it was reported that he entered the portal. And by this point, the process is so far beyond just Walker's announcement, because he's going to announce his next destination here soon. And I think at this point, we all know where that was going to be. As has been reported, Walker went to Ole Miss and visited on Friday, and then on Saturday was in Fort Worth visiting TCU. And it was reported yesterday, and I can confirm that Walker did have a representative from Florida visit here in Baton Rouge on Monday. So it's basically decision time now, and all of the crystal balls that everyone is pointing out is saying Ole Miss, Ole Miss, Ole Miss, and I'm to believe that that's probably what's going to happen, but we'll see ultimately when a decision is made. What was interesting to me is... And I'll give you some disclosure here that I did talk to Jamie Howard today for about an hour, and he didn't mind me saying that. And the thing which struck me, and I want to be clear, I'm not. There's some stuff that we talked about that I'm just not going to disclose, obviously, and I think you can respect that. And I'm not here to act as a mouthpiece for the Howard family. That's certainly not my role. My role is to give opinions. But I'm also not here to tell you what to think. I think people will draw their own conclusions and will think what they will based on the information at hand. What struck me in a lot of the conversation that I had today with Jamie was, honestly, it was just confirming a lot of what we talked about a week ago, which is that Walker's intention always was to sit for a year, and he did that. He redshirted, and then to have the opportunity to compete, which with both Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier returning would not be there. So, are you really getting better? Because let's be very honest, if you have Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, they are getting all of the first and second team reps. Walker Howard last year was your scout team quarterback. He was thrown to walk-ons, and no disrespect to those guys, but are you really improving as a player? And that's, I think, really the question. Are you really improving as a player if you're basically just giving the defense a look all year and not actually working with your receivers and timing and working with your offense? And I think all that those are fair questions, and those are the things that I think weighed on Walker in particular. And sort of that was confirmed today. We talked about it because, look, that was something we talked about for a year. We knew for a year. That was something I think that was confirmed today. But I was thinking about this earlier, and the hardest part, I think, for LSU fans or just for collective college football fans with the Walker Howard situation, in particular if he does pick Ole Miss, which, all the crystal balls and everybody's pointing out Ole Miss, and it makes a ton of sense, right? But if he does pick Ole Miss, what's interesting is he's going to a place where there is an incumbent. And oh, by the way, Ole Miss is also still pursuing Spencer Sanders, the Oklahoma State grad transfer. And if they land him and Walker, that would be two quarterbacks they would land in the portal, one being a fifth-year senior and one being and then obviously joining the incumbent in Jackson Dart, who's there. Now, the fair question would be, would all those guys stay? Would Jackson Dart stay? And I don't cover Ole Miss, and I don't pretend to know or even care what Ole Miss does, as long as it doesn't negatively affect LSU. But to the point, as college football fans, we have all been conditioned, I think, to believe certain things when it comes to guys making a transfer decision. They're either leaving to go somewhere where they can play or where they're going to get the most NIL money. Is that fair? Like, I think we would all agree. Like, that's generally, if a guy leaves, it's because he's not playing, unless he's forced out, right? And that obviously wasn't the case with Walker. He's a good kid and great family, and LSU tried. I can tell you that in earnest, that LSU tried adamantly to keep Walker to the point where they are still calling today, trying to get him to reconsider. But that as I understand it, is not a possibility. But I believe that for 9 out of 10 athletes, that's probably true. If a guy's leaving, he's going somewhere where he's going to be able to play, or he's taking the biggest NIL deal. And in this situation in particular, Walker is that 1 out of 10. He's just kind of an outlier in that he's probably going to go to a place where they have an incumbent. And you're going to say, well, why did he leave LSU? Because he's going to be able to compete, which he wasn't going to be able to this year at LSU, which we talked about last week and we've talked about for a year. We always knew this. Walker was going to sit for a year. Jaden Daniels was coming in as a 1-year guy. And then after that, Walker would be able to compete with Garrett Nussmeier for the starting job. Well, with Jaden and Nussmeier both returning, that opportunity wasn't there. Had Garrett Nussmeier entered the transfer portal, Walker would still be here. I don't mind saying that. I don't mind saying that. Either one of those guys. And with respect to NIL, the Howard family has means. I don't need to go into any detail about that, but suffice to say, like, they took a private plane to Oxford and Fort Worth this weekend. Money isn't the thing that was going to drive the decision. And I think, as we all just assume, and I think many will assume, that Walker just took the most NIL money, I will tell you definitively that that's not true. There were roughly a dozen schools that called on Walker. There was great interest, as you would imagine. He's a phenomenally talented young player. I mean, some of the scouting services had him as a 5-star, and he's got all the things you want. He's got lineage, obviously, with his dad being a quarterback, and he's a great kid, and he's got great makeup and all the physical ability you'd want and everything. I mean, all of that stuff would make him very, very desirable. But the things that we primarily think of, the opportunity to play right away or NIL money, while that would drive the decision for 9 out of 10 kids, that wasn't the driver here. And it really was an opportunity to go somewhere where he was going to be able to get reps to compete and grow and develop. So, you had two situations there with Ole Miss and with TCU, and everyone seems to be reporting it's Ole Miss, and if that's it or if it's TCU, we'll see. But either one of those situations would allow him an opportunity to compete, where at LSU that necessarily wouldn't be the case. But I think one of the things that struck me most, talking again earlier today with Jamie, was there's no ill will or bitterness at all, and leaving LSU was a very, very difficult decision for Walker. I mean, as he said in his statement, it was his only thing he ever dreamed of was playing at LSU. And let's be very honest, y'all. I know TCU just played in a playoff championship and got absolutely walloped. Whichever school Walker picks, if it's TCU, if it's Ole Miss, whichever it may be, he's essentially walking away from an opportunity to win a championship, because you're not going to win one at either of those schools. That may sound stupid, I get it, because TCU just played the championship game, but look how that went, right? You can get there, but you're not going to win it. And I'm sure that's tough. But, if you're an LSU fan, I think you can confidently understand that the LSU coaching staff tried to get Walker Howard to stay. So much as recent as today, still trying to work on it to get him to stay. But that's just not going to be in the cards. So when you look ahead I understand wherever Walker goes, I think people will root for him, want him to do well, except, if it is Ole Miss, when he's playing LSU. If it's TCU, you're a little further out of sight, out of mind. But, I think the respect between the player and the coaching staff is there. And my sense is that this wasn't a situation where anybody was promised anything that wasn't delivered, or it wasn't anything along those lines. It wasn't that anybody, was upset at anybody. It really was one of those outlier situations where you have a kid that's in that 10% that's not going to be driven by the thing that drives the majority of college football players. So, Walker Howard did formally now announce that he's entering the portal, and I would assume we got to have a decision soon, right? Because classes start next week, so you have a deadline to enroll. You don't have to be enrolled the first day of classes, but by whatever that deadline is at these two places, he'll have to make a decision. So I assume we'll get that decision soon, and all the signs that you could see seem to be pointing one direction. But for LSU, you're in 2023. We'll say it again. You're better off. You're better off with a fifth-year senior in Jaden Daniels and a young veteran guy, Garrett Nussmeier. And you have time to plan for the future at the position, however that may look. So, Walker Howard, again, today formally, or I guess it was Monday night, formally announced or said goodbye to LSU. And we'll see what's next. People will make their own decisions, but hopefully your decisions and your opinions are rooted in a little more understanding. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.